It's like a marriage. Okay, at the honeymoon phase, what do you do to build that relationship with your wife or husband, right? Same thing. Once you get into the bed with a retailer, like, what do you do to keep that burning love alive, right? You gotta find ways to grow the business.
Welcome to the B2B Breakthrough podcast. We're here to bring you all the best knowledge, insights, and strategies from e-commerce experts, successful business owners, and the team at Alibaba.com that you'll need to grow your business and achieve your next big breakthrough. I'm your host, Ciara Cristo. On today's episode of the B2B Breakthrough podcast, we're joined by Yohan Jacob, founder and president of RetailBound. With over 30 years of retail expertise and a track record of mentoring more than 4,000 clients worldwide, Yohan has seen it all. From navigating the consumer electronics world to helping brands build winning retail strategies, his insights are a masterclass in staying ahead in a constantly shifting industry. Yohan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
All right. Now, we've spoken with some entrepreneurs in the past about how to break into retail, how they've exercised their strategies to get their products and their inventions on the shelves in big box retailers. And that's something that you've been really active in the community, helping entrepreneurs achieve. So can you start by laying a quick foundation of what it is that RetailBound does for this community?
Sure. So RetailBound, we're a full-service retail solutions agency, been around about 17 plus years. And our job is to help young brands have the time or experience, not just launch in retail, but stay and grow in retail. A lot of our clients are internet product brands that have cool tech, but just need a little help. And that's why our company was founded in 2008 to help these brands get the extra leg over their competition, by the way.
Before we break it down tactically, can you just lay a very basic beginner foundation on how it looks to have a conversation with a retail buyer and how to even get your foot in the door before we start talking about what you need to have prepared?
Sure. Great question. So before you talk to a buyer, you have to be ready for retail. That's the meaning. From having a 3PL logistics strategy already baked to having finished retail packaging, pricing, marketing strategy, all those kind of things necessary. Because I always tell potential clients, like a job interview, there's one job opening and 20 applicants. There's one slot on the shelf, and there's 20 great brands, right? And like a job interview, retail buyer can tell which brands are ready to work with them and which aren't. The ones aren't waste their time, waste the buyer's time, and don't get a second chance at making a first impression. So before you pick up the phone, before you send an email, before you exhibit at a trade show, it's really important you have those things necessary in place from the logistics, marketing, retail packaging, and so forth before you actually talk to a buyer and say, hey, I love to work at Best Buy or Apple or Costco, but it's something you need to get done before you talk to those retail buyers, by the way.
Cool. And to get those conversations started, that you mentioned email, phone call, trade shows, this is where we're finding them. We're cold calling, we're showing up at local trade shows, national trade shows. That's how you get in front of these people?
If you didn't have a company like RetailBound, right, they have their relationships, or you're using a broker or distributor, yes, the methods would be cold emails, trade shows, it'd be networking like LinkedIn, right? But those are the things that most brands use. It didn't have a reach like RetailBound in their corner helping them out.
So it's a lot of hustling to even start these conversations and find out how to get in the right places.
It is tough. I mean, retail buyers today get hundreds and hundreds of unsolicited applications to be a vendor of record. Obviously, they can't talk every time they can hear, right? So they have to be selective on who they can work with, right? And if you get a meeting or a phone call to a buyer, you got to be prepared, not just to sell to the retailer, but work with the retailer. It's like a marriage. Okay, at the honeymoon phase, what do you do to build that relationship with your wife or husband, right? Same thing. Once you get into the bed with a retailer like Best Buy, again, what do you do to keep that burning love alive, right? You got to find ways to grow the business because in the beginning, Best Buy is very busy, right? So they rely on you to drive the traffic, you to ship the product, right? You do X, Y, Z. And then once business is rock and roll, and then Best Buy will reciprocate and help grow your business on their shelves or on their website.
Cool. That's when you can get into performance analysis and understand who your audience is when they're buying from the retailer perspective.
That's correct.
Cool. So let's get into those steps to prepare. You mentioned starting with product differentiation. So why is that such a crucial stage in preparing for a conversation with a retail buyer?
It's very important because honestly, if you're the same product like the other 20 products he has on your shelf, why should I pick you, right? If you have another iPhone case, another Bluetooth speaker, another massage gun, these are all great products, but they are very saturated categories. If a buyer has 20 of these on the shelf, why should I pick you? Those things that you want to have already predetermined or laid out before you actually, again, knock on that door with that retail buyer. For products that are more unique, and that's where we kind of focus on products that are less saturated, more like first to market, which I'm going to explain call today. Those have a little easier time of talking to a retail buyer because there aren't 40 XYZ. They're the only one in their space because brand new. We're a brand that has like massage guns or iPhone cases. It's very tough to stand because again, it's hard for a buyer to change, especially in store. Hey, I have 20 iPhone cases and I'm going to change out one for another unless there's a major issue, like says there's a service and supply issue. There are 3PL or logistics have an issue of shipping products on the right time. Their costs are going up, right? They're not doing the marketing to drive traffic. That's the primary reason why a retail buyer would cut or fire an existing supplier in a saturated space like iPhone cases or massage guns. So again, if you're going to get in, if you're in that kind of space, you gotta have a really compelling story why you're better than other 40 brands that he already has on their shelf or their website.
And so it's about optimizing and improving along the way as well to stay relevant for those buyers.
That's correct. At the end of the day, I do a lot of these podcasts and webinars and seminars, and there's really one secret, right, in being successful in retail. And it's I say it's pretty simple, but a lot of people have a hard time executing it. It's basically making the buyer look good, right? Making the job easier. It's common sense stuff, but a lot of young brands, or brands in general, not young, but brands in general, forget that. Such as providing timely communication, okay? Where it's by email or by phone, right? Hey, if there's the cost increase, there's a product delay, I need to know, right? Or if I need a sample shipped at a certain time, right? There are certain things that buyers get irritated about. And the biggest thing is that a lot of their brands make their job harder. And those brands that make the job harder, how are they going to make next year's assortment?
Interesting. So do you have an example that you can share with us of a brand that was able to cut through a saturated market really nicely in this differentiation conversation?
Sure. So we have a client or past client, we just ended with them literally last month. They were for about 3.5 years. One of the products they made was a product called the Bloom, which is basically an indoor air purifier. Now in 2020, air purifiers went up, basically grew because you were at home, right? And indoor air can be up to 5 times more worse than outdoor air. Okay. So they stand out from a market of air purifiers. They actually made an air purifier that doubled as a planter. They also, for Costco, because we did a bundle for Costco, they also made it a tabletop, like a nightstand. So need more of a multi-use product than just the air purifier. Here's a product that in a saturated category, air purifiers, but find a different way around that commoditized or saturated product space. So it looks like a piece of furniture, a piece of art, right? So yes, they did a nice job of incorporating like where it's a nightstand or a planter in their existing product, by the way.
So variety in a one cohesive brand, a line of products is also helpful to differentiate.
Yeah, and definitely buyers like, this is kind of cool. I might see a lot of these air purifier, but here's something unique, different. And those are the reasons why the buyers are like, hey, yeah, let's give it a shot because they want to do what it takes to make the buyer's job look easier.
Sure. Yeah, you got to make them look good.
I mean, look good. You name them good, they get promoted. They get promoted, they'll remember the ones that wash their back, they'll wash their back later on.
I like it. So as we're talking about these buyers and the expectations that they have, I think that helps us transition into the next big tip here to get to be successful in retail. So can you talk to us a little bit more about the buyer expectations?
So buyers, overall, I would say that they look at when they look at products, right? They look at a couple of things. One, they look at market trends, right? Also, air purifiers, not a growth category, was back in 2020. It's probably more of a flat or standout category. But what categories are hot, that are growing? They look at financial budgets, just like you and I. We have a budget, right? I can't keep spending if I don't have the money in the bank, right? So they have a budget in mind. Store policies. There are maybe certain products that are not display in store or online based on policies, right? So these are things they look at, generally speaking, right? It does your product a market trend. Can they afford to have it in their stores, right? At a certain store policy that restrict. Obviously, retail, give or take, especially as it gets competitive, especially in the last couple of years in retail, buyer decision-making process is, will your product hit all three criteria? One, will your product drive top-line sales growth, right? Right. Two, will it drive bottom line profits? At the end of the day, that's how I pay the bills, right? And three, it's really important, will your product sell through what we call inventory turns? It's by 100 pieces on day one, and I don't replenish that till day 100, probably not good, right? I buy a product on day one, and I replenish on day 10, day 30, not bad, and I keep doing it. So they want to make sure the product is selling through and just sitting there on the shelf collecting dust.
Interesting. So it's the sales growth, the profitability, and the turnover and the replenishment rate.
That's correct. That's correct.
Really interesting. Okay. So now as you're working with these retail buyers, in this conversation, how much negotiation goes into this? Is it more of a very clear cut, this is what I'm willing to buy, sure, let's go through with it? Or is there more of a push and pull and room for negotiation as you get into this?
So depending on the retailer and the category, there is a negotiation. It's a buyer's. It's like, hey, here's my cost, Best Buy, take it or leave it. Honestly, if you're a newbie, right, it's probably very, very challenging. I had a call with a brand literally a couple days ago who was interested in our services. They're already starting to talk to retailers, and they actually got an offer to work with Chewy.com, another great retailer, right? That's awesome. And I said, well, tell me about the program you agreed for already without me learning about. Well, it's drop ship. Okay, that's fine. Well, the terms, is it probably, like 30 days or less? No, it's 90 days. What? So if you sell one dog bone, you don't get paid for 90 days. Who would sign that? We did. Who pays for freight? We do. What about marketing? We got to do that too as well. So again, a lot of entrepreneurs I work with think they're master negotiators. They're the Mark Cubans, the Donald Trumps of the world. And maybe they are, right? But if you've never been a buyer, never been in their shoes, it's very tough, right, to understand what tricks or what various buyers use to negotiate small brands like the one I just mentioned the last 5 minutes, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to have a partner like you in their corner then to vet these contracts and make sure that everyone is coming out of this a winner.
Yeah, and same way, buyers like us in the between, because they don't have time to talk to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. As I mentioned, I bring the best. They know that we, as forward large buyers, have already done the hard work of then out these brands by making sure they have the right go-market strategy.
Yeah. Damn. Okay. Cool. I mean, there's so much more nuance in the negotiation phase, in the contracting phase, that I've never experienced it. I've never gone through it personally, so it's hard to know, especially if you're a first-time entrepreneur trying to figure out the ropes here. It's a lot to consider, and some things that I wouldn't have been prepared to have in my back pocket, especially trying to be accommodating to a certain extent, knowing that I want to get my product in front of people. You may be willing to take less than you probably should to just get that exposure in the first place, and that's not always the sustainable way through.
There are certain things that maybe you could do. Great. Other things like you shouldn't do. Outsource it. Like, again, can I pay my house? Probably could, but do I have the skill or the patience? Probably not. That's why I outsourced someone needed to pick my house, because I don't have the time or the patience to up and down, left and right, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I would say that a lot of our clients, I think they are master negotiators, and there's a lot of emotion when you try to negotiate. It's your baby, right? Your brand. You spent blood, sweat, tears. And when the buyer says, cost is too high, I don't like your product, it's not what I'm looking for, you take it personally. But having a neutral third party like RetailBound that's been on actually both sides of that. That's one of our unique selling of RetailBound is our teammate, our consultants like myself. We're large retail buyers. We're also even manufacturers who've actually sold to retailers. So it makes it a little different that we've been in your shoes as a young brand trying to pioneer into retail, but we also been in the shoes of your customer, the large retail buyer that sees a lot of brands try to sell them their product.
Now, you mentioned the manufacturing side of this and being prepared to meet those profit margins. Part of that is making sure that your supply chain is outfitted to accommodate those demands. So tell me a little bit about your third tenet here on making sure that your supply chain is prepared for this conversation.
So a lot of our clients, make their product overseas. There are very, very few products are made here in the U.S., obviously, right? So having a partner like Alibaba or a partner that can ship goods on a timely manner is very important because, if products arrive late to a retailer's warehouse, you get charged. They're called penalty charge, or what I call punk chargers, right? So it's very important that you have a partner where it's a 3PL, a distributor, or any type of legitimate agent to get products to the right retailer at the right time, right, at the right cost, right? And if you don't do that, it's going to cost you. And I see a lot of brands in the beginning because they're starting up, a lot of excess funds to find the cheapest solution. Just because they're the cheapest doesn't mean they're the best. And there have been times where we come on board and say to fire our client existing 3PL or logistics partner because at the end of the day, if it's not shipping on the right time, right place, the brand gets left in the hand by the retailer, but I'm the one who gets yelled at, right? Because I'm in between the brand and the retailer. So since it's my relationship, my stamp of approval, we have to do a good job of vetting out the good and the bad when it comes to logistics. Because again, if it's shipped with the right barcode label, packing slip, right? It's short shipped. Right, it's 20 pieces, it's 19 pieces, right? Ship the wrong warehouse, right? Those are things that get cause issues with retailers, and they will definitely penalize the brand for making those mistakes. It's the brand that shows that 3PL or logistics partner, by the way.
So it's making sure that you're vetting your partners thoroughly to make sure that they have the track record to efficiently ship your products and do it on time. Can you take us back to Logistics 101 for a second here? For the beginners, can you break down what a 3PL is and how to identify the right partners that actually help you get over the finish line here?
Sure. So 3PL is called third-party logistics. It could be a warehouse, maybe one warehouse or multiple warehouses. The purpose of a 3PL is to basically stock your product and fulfill it on demand. There are two types of 3PLs. One is really that does more D2C, and then there's plenty. Ship Bob, ship Long, ship this, ship that. There's plenty of them out there, right? Then there are, I call 3PL that do more B2B. So instead of drop shipping, when you choose these, you're shipping case packs. And then actually there's a third one, call it 3PL Plus. A 3PL Plus combines the fulfillment and logistics or fulfillment and warehousing that a normal 3PL would, B2C or B2B. But the plus includes other things. You could be kitting, doing bundles, right? So maybe you have product A and product B separate, and it's be drop shipped to a consumer. They can put it in one box, and it's a bundle. It's a soft bundle online, but they'll put two sort of product in a box. They can have point-of-purchase displays. Maybe they actually create corrugated shippers and then pre-fill it and ship it to a retailer. Another plus could be having EDI. EDI is basically a electronic data interchange, or way how large retailers can transmit purchase orders to a manufacturer. And other nice things is they can be a distributor. They may have some vendor codes, vendor numbers with a Target, a PVC, or a Walmart. So let me say they're a quasi distributor, right? So when we're evaluating 3PL, B2B, or 3PL plus, that includes the disty, right? Again, like before, we look at those criteria. what's the cost, right? What's the reliability? And is there any flexibility if there's a urgent, DEFCON 6, request from a retail buyer?
Cool. That's really helpful. I think knowing what kind of logistics strategy, logistics services will best suit your business is so crucial. And there's so much more in that plus category than meets the eye at a first glance as you try to evaluate what makes the most sense.
And there's times where our clients, thanks to our help, they've grown. We've grown their sales as we expand our retailer. And that 3PL they hired maybe a year ago or 3 years ago isn't situated or set up to handle those growing. So now it's time to maybe look at a bigger 3PL that can handle our clients' needs and wants.
Very cool. Growth is always good. We love that.
That's a good thing, right? It's
Yeah,
a double-edged
absolutely.
sword. It's a double-edged sword, right? But the longer we're growing the business, we can find other ways to maintain that growth. Yeah.
Now, I want to transition into number 4 here because, having all the back end stuff is great, is absolutely necessary, but making sure that you have that comprehensive marketing plan to make your product attractive to the buyer is massive. So tell us a little bit about the importance of that in these conversations with buyers.
So, marketing is very important, right? Marketing could be for many different things, right? And I say marketing, I'm like digital ads and paid search. Those are things that are hopefully more nice to have. When I say marketing could be promotions, probably the biggest thing, right? Where was $199 on sale for $149, say $50, right? I'm a big fan of not promoting often because it does a couple of things. One, it devalues your brand, right? You make less money from a gross profit, right? And third, you're training customers to wait. There's a deal. I have a client that I think it's after a year of going back and forth. They were on sale in 2024. This is not a joke, on their own website, which affects retail, by the way. But they were on sale for 317 days of the year. That's nuts. That's a long sale. Maybe this week it's save 15% off. Next week it's buy one get one. Next one is whatever. Right? You're basically competing against yourself on Best Buy and Apple and Target. So if you could do a promotion, right, at key times like back to school or Black Friday, you want to make sure all your retail partners are on the same level playing field. If one retailer, Amazon or Best Buy or Yohan.com is below the market, now it causes what we call channel conflict. And that's not good for both the retailer as well as consumers like you and I. So, but promotions are probably the most basic form of marketing that our clients fit in at key time here to build awareness and drive sales. Other things that are more nice to have, not required, but it's nice to have. In-store education, where it's in-store demo events. If requests are allowed, point-of-purchase displays, right? Because you can't rely on the sales associate, all the time because they're busy. So having a display where it's an acrylic display or one with a video, it kind of explains. So, for example, I was traveling from CES 2 weeks ago. When I arrived in Chicago O'Hare Airport and I'm walking towards the baggage pickup, I stopped by a Brookstone Airport store. There was one of our clients, a client called Ultra Human, which makes a smart ring. And they had, in that Brook Airport store, a display. So now you actually can see what size am I? Am I a size 9? Am I a size 8? Or am I a size 10? And then also they had inventory you could grab and try it out and demo, right? But having displays is a great way to sell product. A lot of the major retailers have a cafeteria menu of marketing levers, where it's offline or online. So online could be paid reviews, paid search, banner ads, email blasts, special sales events, right? Those are things that you can invest in, or some may be free, depending on the buyer and the retailer, right? But those are things that we asked our clients to participate, because you don't do that, you're not going to last very long on the shelf, by the way.
Interesting. So it's the elevator pitch for your product that you need beyond getting onto the shelf. You need it to make sure that it's clear and concise in all of your messaging, whether it's a physical display in the store or talking to sales associates to make sure that all of the humans in the store are able to communicate this point as effectively to your audience as you can online,
as well as the copy that you have on your on the retailer's website to the retail box itself, right? Because I've seen hotspots where the website doesn't match the box, doesn't match the sign, and then the sales is confused, right? So make sure your marketing and brand strategy are the same and all, no matter what the platform could be.
That's a really good point. Making sure that it's consistent from location to location.
Correct.
Huge. Now, and part of that is in the retail packaging itself. That, as we were talking about the 3PLs who are making sure that you've got the in-store displays and the marketing, it all comes together with the packaging. So how can you make sure that your retail-ready packaging strategy is exactly where it needs to be to compete in these shelves, in these saturated markets?
So I'm gonna answer your question two ways, because I think it's not just retail packaging, it's also the packaging, how you ship to the retailer or the 3PL is just as important. So let's talk about how you ship to a retailer or distributor or warehouse. Some of our clients, when we first meet them, I say, what's your case pack? Well, the problem is that in retail, every time the Best Buy's warehouse has to open a box and count 4 units to be shipped out to that one store in Chicago, it actually costs the buyer money because someone's actually has to count, right? If you know that on a Best Buy shelf, that they can fit 3 units, on the shelf, and maybe have 1 unit in the back stock room for replenishment, that's 4. All right, maybe your inner case pack should be 4, and maybe your measured case pack should be 24, right? So you have 6 cases of 4 each, right? Now, when Best Buy needs to replenish, the logistics person at Best Buy opens one big box, and in a case box of 4, boom, it reduces costs, it improves accuracy of not counting 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But a lot of our clients, before they meet us, it's one big giant box. They don't know how much. So we actually spend a lot of time with our client optimizing the measured case back. It's not shipping more or less than you need to. And two, that it also it maximizes the efficiency of the retailer, right? Again, we talked about the first point, making the buyer's job easier. Having a measured case back already predetermined, as well as your inner case pack will save both time, effort, and money both for you as well as the retailer. Okay. As for the retail box, you need a 4-color retail box that tells a story. That has maybe some icons, because you literally have 2 to 3 seconds, right, when someone's walking them by the shelf to grab their attention if you don't have a display out there, right? Especially if English is not your first language. And two, some of our clients, like I said before, are first to market. It's something that's totally brand new. You only put so much copy till you overdo it. So a lot of our clients are adding QR codes to their front of the box. Why the front of the box versus the back of the box or side of the box? Because we as manufacturers have no control how the box is displayed. Yeah, we want a face like this, that may in reality, maybe it's turned backwards. Maybe it's on the side. Maybe it's upside down, right? But having the QR code on the front, that if it's visible or it's locked up in the glass case, easy for someone to take their iPhone or phone itself and get more information about the product before they ask the associate to unlock the glass case to buy the product.
So, I mean, in a perfect world, we follow all these 5 steps and we succeed, we're growing, we're optimizing along the way in our relationship with our retailer. Hypothetically, though, it doesn't go our way. How do you help your clients overcome rejection and prepare to get back on your feet and hopefully, hit a home run with your next pursuit?
Sure. So generally speaking, right, you'll get 9 no's and 1 yes, right? That's how we've heard in sales, right? We work with over 150 retailers across the U.S. and Canada. We are the largest retail chains in North America. So if a retailer, one of our clients says, is it used Best Buy, says no, that's fine. We'll talk to Target. We'll talk to QVC. We'll talk to Apple, right? So for our clients, when there's a no, or no, I'm not ready yet, that's fine. We have a plethora of other retail or verticals to go after. For brands that don't use RetailBound for whatever reason, right? If the retailer says no, not now, it's not the end of the world for a couple of reasons. One, that buyer, at the end of the day, buyer is more subjective than objective, meaning that buyer that didn't like your product today, wait 12 months to 18 months, that buyer may be gone. Good bad. He may get promoted. He may leave, right? So and the new buyers come in and say, God, I love your product. Where have you been all my life? So I tell our client, if by chance the buyer says no, we have other retailers to pursue. But again, in a year or 18 months, that buyer that said no may be gone, and we have another chance to present again to that along. We don't burn any bridges along the way.
That's cool. You know, we heard a similar refrain from one of our other guests. Natalie came on and she said, "No's can be not right nows," and that's just it's helpful. It's a helpful piece of advice to keep in the back of your mind to not get discouraged for sure.
Yeah, last year at CES 2024, we went with Apple with our clients. The product was much superior than what they had in their store and website. And Brian said, "I like your product. However," so it wasn't a no, right? But I said, "Hey, however, can you do X, Y, and Z?" 11 months later, right, we have a prototype to show Apple, and now we're in discussions with Apple and getting the stores later in 2025.
Awesome. It's all data to work with.
Correct.
That's great. Well, all right. I know we're coming up on time here, so I just want to ask you what's next for you in RetailBound in the coming months, and what are you looking forward to in 2025?
For us as a company, we launched a new service called RetailBound Accelerator. It's basically it's like almost like a group format of 8 to 10 startups per class that are kind of learning in the trenches with us. We kind of say we take 18 years of agency experience and create an 8-week intensive boot camp, helping brands get ready for retail, like go-to-market strategy, pricing, logistics, packaging, marketing. And after the 8-week course, we'll actually introduce them to about 3 distributors from the pitch their product
great.
too, by the way. So it's a new product. We're actually taking admissions right now as we speak, and hopefully have our first class start in April of 2025.
Awesome. Well, that's awesome. That's a really great opportunity for entrepreneurs. Where can they find you? Where can we look you up online?
It's RetailBound.com. That's where you can find us. If you're on LinkedIn, look me up, Yohan Jacob. Love to connect. Hopefully we'll find a way to do business with you in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yohan. This has been really helpful advice for our entrepreneurs.
Thank you for the time, by the way.
My pleasure. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you.
B2B Breakthrough is produced by Alibaba.com. To find out how Alibaba.com is empowering its customers with the tools, services, and resources they need to grow their business, visit Alibaba.com. And then make sure to search for B2B Breakthrough on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you find your podcasts. Make sure to follow us so you don't miss future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Alibaba.com, thanks for listening.